You know that person. Maybe it's your neighbor.
Morning.
Hey there, morning.
Maybe it's your boss. Maybe it's your uncle who everyone in the family quietly respects but can't fully explain why. They drive the same car they've had since before smartphones looked the way they do now. Same faded paint, same slightly worn steering wheel, same little crack in the corner of the dashboard that everyone else would have fixed by now, but they just haven't. Not because they forgot, because somehow it doesn't bother them. And here's what's strange. This person isn't broke. They're not waiting on a lottery win or a tax refund. You know their situation. They could walk into a dealership tomorrow and drive something new off the lot, but they don't. And for some reason, that drives other people absolutely crazy. Why? Picture this. It's a Monday morning. The parking lot at work slowly fills up. Brand new SUVs. Lease payments wrapped in chrome trim. Someone pulls in with a freshly detailed sedan, still carrying that invisible "look at what I did this weekend" energy. And then quietly into the far corner of that lot rolls a 2005 Honda Accord with 200,000 miles on it. No dents, no drama, just there. The person who gets out of that car doesn't look embarrassed. They don't scan the lot to see if anyone noticed. They grab their coffee, lock the door without looking back, and walk inside. That's the part that gets people. It's not the car. It's the indifference to what other people think about the car. And that indifference, that's the real story. Most people, when they see someone driving a car for 15 years, make one of two assumptions. The first one? They're cheap. They're the kind of person who clips coupons and argues over restaurant bills. They refuse to spend money on anything that isn't absolutely necessary, and the car is just the most visible symptom of that tightness. The second assumption, they're oblivious. They just haven't gotten around to upgrading. Life got busy. It slipped their mind. Maybe they don't really care about cars at all, and it simply never rose to the top of the priority list. Both of these explanations feel satisfying in the moment. They let everyone else off the hook. Because the uncomfortable alternative, the one most people quietly avoid, is this. What if that person has figured out something that the rest of us haven't? But psychology suggests something else entirely. Think about it. Most major financial decisions we make, the house, the vacation, the car, the watch, aren't really about the thing itself. They're about how the thing makes us feel in relation to other people. Economists call this positional spending. We don't buy a new car because we need transportation. We buy a new car because of what it signals to others and to ourselves. But here's the strange part. The person driving the same car for 15 years has, consciously or not, stepped off that treadmill entirely. They've opted out of the signaling game. And when you opt out of a game, everyone else is still playing. When you stop needing to win, you become, paradoxically, more powerful than anyone still at the table. Here's where it gets interesting. Most of us build our identity partly through the things we own. That's not a criticism, it's just how human psychology works. We use objects to tell stories about who we are. The car we drive is one of the loudest chapters in that story. But the person who's driven the same car for 15 years has, somewhere along the way, detached their identity from their possessions. Their sense of self doesn't live in the parking lot. Psychologists call this internal locus of identity. The feeling that who you are isn't determined by external signals or social feedback. It comes from within, from values, from consistency, from doing the same thing quietly, year after year, without needing anyone to applaud. That's rare, genuinely rare. And most people can't recognize it because it doesn't look like success. It doesn't announce itself. Which brings us to the next layer. Think about the people throughout history, and even in everyday life, who command the most respect. It's almost never the loudest person in the room. It's almost never the person with the newest thing. It's the person who seems completely unbothered by what others think. The surgeon who drives a dented pickup, the retired professor with the worn leather briefcase, the CEO who still shops at the same grocery store he grew up near. There's a reason we find these people compelling. They've separated status from performance. They're not doing status, they just have it. And the car is a perfect symbol of that distinction. When someone upgrades their car every 3 years, they're performing, they're sending signals. Look, see, confirm me. But the person who keeps the same car for 15 years, they stopped needing confirmation a long time ago. And here's what's worth sitting with. Most people spend enormous amounts of money chasing a feeling of security that this person already has for free. Most people never realize this, but every time you upgrade something to feel better about yourself, you're making a small confession. A confession that the old thing wasn't enough, that you weren't enough, that the way other people perceive you matters more than the way you perceive yourself. And that's exhausting, quietly, invisibly exhausting. Not dramatic exhaustion, just the low hum of never quite arriving. Think about someone you know who always has the newest phone, the newest car, the newest everything. Are they more settled than they were 5 years ago? Are they more at peace? Or does each new thing provide about 6 weeks of satisfaction before the next want quietly moves in? Psychologists have a name for this: the hedonic treadmill. You upgrade, you feel better, and then the feeling fades, and you need to upgrade again just to get back to baseline. The 15-year car person got off that treadmill. Or maybe they were never on it. There's a version of wealth that everyone recognizes. Big house, new car, nice watch, frequent travel posts on social media, and then there's a quieter version. No debt, a full savings account, options, freedom to say no. The ability to take a risk, absorb a setback, or change direction without panic. The person driving the old car is often living in that second version. Because here's what driving a car for 15 years actually represents when you run the math. They didn't take on a car payment every 3 to 4 years. They didn't reset the depreciation clock. They didn't fold a financing charge into their monthly budget. Over 15 years, that's often tens of thousands of dollars redirected somewhere else, quietly, without anyone in the parking lot knowing. Real financial confidence doesn't need to park where everyone can see it. Here's what we often overlook. It takes active resistance to keep the same car for 15 years, not passive indifference. Active, continuous resistance. Because the pressure to upgrade is constant. Friends mention it, family mentions it. Car advertisements are designed with psychological precision to make you feel like your old car is a liability, a statement of failure, a thing to be embarrassed by. Resisting that year after year requires a specific kind of psychological muscle. The same muscle that lets someone say no to trends, no to peer pressure, no to the creeping anxiety that they're falling behind some invisible standard. That muscle is called identity security. People with identity security don't need external validation because they've already done the internal work. They know who they are. They know what they value. And a car, however shiny, however new, isn't going to change that answer. What does this really mean? Here's the thought that tends to land differently once you've sat with it for a moment. We live in a culture that has convinced us that more is always better. That newer means improved. That upgrading is progress, and staying the same is stagnation. But that's not psychology, that's marketing. Real growth, the kind that actually changes your life, usually looks boring from the outside. It looks like consistency, like patience, like the same car in the same driveway year after year, while something quieter and more durable builds in the background. What if confidence doesn't roar? What if success doesn't need witnesses? What if the most secure version of yourself is the one that stops keeping score, the one that waves at the shiny new vehicles pulling past and thinks, without irony, without resentment, good for them? That's not resignation, that's arrival. So here's the question worth sitting with tonight. What does your car say about you? Not the make or the model, anyone can Google those. But the decision behind it, the feeling that drove it, the story you were trying to tell, or the story you were trying to escape. Are you driving what you drive because it genuinely serves your life, or because of what someone in another parking lot might think? And if you're honest, completely honest, is the upgrade something you want? Or is it something you feel you owe yourself to prove something to someone who probably isn't paying that much attention anyway? The 15-year car isn't just a car. It's a daily, quiet, undeniable answer to a question most people are still asking. Enough is enough, and I already know it. If that hit different, subscribe. Because this channel isn't really about cars. It's about the people inside them.